Hello, welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone's navigating the new platform okay. Run into some people maybe you haven't seen in a while, and we'll come back to that for some more networking later on. At this time, I'd like to introduce our first panel for emergency preparedness. We have Rob Kotowski from Lakeshore Boat Tops, Ron Paratore from Trivantage, and Chandler Clark from Signature Canvas Makers. Each person is going to have 10 minutes to talk about their topic. If you have any questions, there's a Q&A on the top right. You can click on that and ask some questions. And at the end, if we have some time, we're going to try to get through as many as we can.
Was that a go, Darren?
That is a go.
Alrighty then.
All right.
So we're each going to talk about different things. I'm going first, and I'll be talking about my experience is hurricane for the most part. And I know there's a lot of what everybody's dealing with is a little bit different typically right now, unless you're in Texas or Louisiana. So, and I'm also going to try. I'm used to giving these presentations and having y'all right in front of me and harassing me as it goes, and it's a little more interactive. So this is, we'll see. We'll feel this out together. Hopefully I won't bore you. So I started in the trade in 2004 in New Orleans. And as everybody knows, except for some of you very young people, that Katrina hit in 2005. So it's hard to work when you've got a boat lodged on the second floor of your shop. So as a business, Charlie and I have been through probably 8 hurricanes and several nor'easters. Some of the nor'easters can be worse than a hurricane because they can last a lot longer. And that, like I said, I'm going to be talking about hurricanes, but a lot of the policies or a lot of the the concepts still apply. So the one thing I would say to take away is have a plan. It seems obvious. We didn't do it for a very long time. We got experienced at it, and we just decided to write it down one year. But it saves time, reduces stress when the time comes to actually do the thing. It's amazing when you're trying to run around and you can't get a hold of anybody, and everybody around you is panicking, and you're still trying to figure out what exactly you need to do. So I'm just going to run through before the storm, during the storm, during the event, and after the event. And I should be fairly brief on this. So on a personal level, Charlie and I have a risk assessment about, helps us determine whether we're going to stick around for the storm at all, right? So again, I'm talking about hurricanes, but we've gotten pretty experienced with it. But we have here on the Chesapeake Bay a storm. Hurricane has to basically come up and turn left to hit us. So it's actually pretty protected, relatively speaking, or it may be coming across land. It depends on the approach, the predicted approach anyway. They're always unpredictable to some degree. So we make that decision, and we constantly update it, reassess it about every 6 hours or so, and a couple of days before the storm. One thing about our personal evacuation plan, it includes a way to get back in the area. That may seem like common sense, but in New Orleans, it was 6 months before some people could get back into New Orleans. They wouldn't let you back in. And something else to remember is safety of you and your people is above everything else. So stay safe, keep your people safe. To go with that, we have a personnel policy for our team. It's actually pretty simple. Take care of yourself. You got our support. We're here. But I think everybody should have that policy. You can just, it's done. It's out of your head. You don't have to worry about it after that. Another thing to do before a storm is purchase the emergency items. Everybody needs toilet paper and tissue paper, of course. So generators, if the power's out when you get back, it could be out for months. It was out in New Orleans, it was out for 6 months. Batteries, flashlights, lanterns, water, fuel containers, extension cords. If anybody at the end of this, if anybody actually wants to see some of the things we have on our list, which is probably it's fairly simple, but it might cue some things for you. Email me. I'll give my email at the end here. and I will send you what we got. So our plan is we have 3 levels of preparedness depending on the storm. And I apologize for the reading glasses. I am going blind. It's wonderful. Don't grow old, folks. We've got 3 levels depending on what the impact is. So what the storm for us, the storm surge, what kind of flooding, what kind of wind, how long the wind is going to be sustained, what they're predicting. We live in an area called Hampton, Virginia, and it's called Tidewater, and it's called Tidewater for a reason. It's low. But it includes things like sandbagging entrances, tying things down outside. One of the early things we do on the level 1 is tie things down outside that can go flying around and cause damage. Raising things off the deck like computers and, important things, fabric off the deck, fueling the vehicles. One thing to consider is if you got canvas out there and the customer hasn't paid, or maybe the job's you're in the middle of the job, you ought to take it off the boat. Because I'm not sure, and we've been in this situation, you end up in an interesting negotiation if the canvas you just made, whether you've invoiced them or not, is on the boat and blows off. And then you're in a 3-way conversation with an insurance company. It's odd. And then also consider your data, backing up your computers. We have it backed up to the cloud, but when we leave, we bring it with us on a portable drive. So this is where I would normally ask if there's any questions. But since there aren't right now, I'll just press on. So when the storm is predicted, that's when you put your plan into place and be proactive. Right? All you're going to do is put it into place. You've already made the plans. You don't have to think about what to do. You've got it in hand. You just run down your checklist. And as far as evacuating, when in doubt, evacuate. If you got, again, it's better to be safe than sorry. So during the event, I spent Katrina, for example, in Baton Rouge. And that was only, I don't know what it was, 75 or 100 mile an hour winds or something there. It wasn't as bad as New Orleans got it. Just remember that your safety of you and your people come first, and try not to damage your liver during the hunkering down period. And then after the event, something to remember, you may be coming back and looking at all kinds of devastation. If your business is there and you can operate, get ready for what we call here at Signature Canvas Makers, we call God's economic stimulus package. You're going to have more business than you can handle. And there's some of you that know what I'm talking about that have been through this. Don't worry about the damage to the marinas and the boats. There's insurance money, and in the United States, we've got help on the way. It's going to recover. You need to be ready for it. Communicate with your people. Often you may have a business, but you may not have any employees. May still be out. They may not have a place to live. Communicate with your supply chain. Make sure you can still get materials. Usually you can, because these type of emergencies that we've been dealing with have been regional, right? So it's just a question of getting them there. Another resource is the MFA community. A lot of us have been through many things. In fact, we've had it pretty good as a business. And people like Ed Straczynski down in Marco Island and Pam in Newbern got, she raised everything like 2 feet and the water came up 4 feet. So there's, we've had it pretty good here. But communicate with the MFA community. They're a really good resource. They can get you things. They can give you resources that can help you. Also, your local community. We've had several times had to help the local community. Things like building things like tarps. We've also given sewing machines to other canvas shops locally. Another consideration is to be ready to pivot. You might need to be making tarps. You might need to be making things for shelters, and enact your catastrophic event quoting policy. I just made that up today. We called it, but it's something that it's something we have. I think some of you have probably done this before, but when you've had an event, and I'm on the wrong page, you should be reimbursed for the time you'll be spending visiting boats and writing insurance quotes and not producing the product, because you're going to be spending a lot of time quoting. Everybody's going to need a quote, right? So we charge for our quotes. We put it to the work towards the work if we get it. That is normal in the insurance industry. I just don't think a lot of people do it in this industry. And for us, we're kind of at the higher end of the market, and so people like our quotes, right? So but they may not want to spend the money for our product. So we get a lot of quotes, and you should be compensated for that. Again, the customer will be compensated by the insurance company. So briefly, the conclusion is, number one, take care of people first. 2, have a plan. And 3, be proactive. Don't wait until it's on its way there, because everybody's trying to run around like a chicken with their head cut off. If anybody has any questions, email me at chandler@signaturecanvasmakers.com. Thanks.
Rob, you're up.
Turn your mic on, Rob.
That's better. Thanks, Chandler. That was a lot of good information. My name is Rob Kotowski. I'm with Lakeshore Boat Top Company. We are up here in Michigan and still battling some things here with a lot of shutdowns. And it's been a little bit of a challenge since the beginning of, I would say, the shutdown in March. But what I'm going to talk to you today about is trying to be prepared for emergencies. Like, for instance, I think many shops across the entire U.S. Were shut down. We got I guess I call it the big day. We had the big day on March 23rd. We had roughly 13 hours to get our entire shop. It was on a Monday. Basically ready to shut our entire business down, and for how long we had no idea. So we were informed that we were not able to work on boats. We weren't allowed to get into different marinas. We weren't able to do any type of fabrication work inside of our own shop. It was something that I never experienced in my entire life. It was something that my father never experienced in his life. And I think it was a lot of things that none of us experienced before. And kind of like what Chandler just touched on, is trying to have a plan. I don't think any of us ever really thought something like this would ever happen for us not to be able to operate. So what we ended up doing is we started to think of ways to create a solution to the problem. And this type of solution was trying to figure out ways that we could help hospitals use our talents of what we have in our technology and our equipment to build PPE for first responders and whatnot. So that day, I go back to the day, I tried to keep communication with my staff, because you could see a sense of panic. And I tried to do my best to try to hold it in, just to try to keep the day going so we could finish out strong. But the look that I saw on my staff's face was something that I hope I never have to see again, because basically they knew we weren't coming back to work. And that was something that, I take a lot of pride in what we do for our people. And it's definitely not something that I ever anticipated. So what we ended up doing is I just kind of went into like survival mode, and I kind of locked myself in my office for a few hours. I grabbed a beer out of the fridge here at our shop, and I literally just started networking with fabricators across the US and in Canada that I know about different things that maybe we could do to help produce some type of solution. And we got some ideas. I went on Google, I copied and pasted some pictures, and I literally just did a social media blast. Those that may have followed us or know of me, I put something on there, social media, that we could do facial masks, barriers, different types of zippered doors, anything that we could try to figure out a way to help the cause or help them, fix the problem, I guess. And we started getting a few phone calls. So at the end of that day, I sat with my team and said, hey, we're getting a little traction. I'll keep you posted. I'm going to do everything in my power I can to get our shop up and running. So we ended up the next day driving in. I saw, I think, 6 cars in 20 minutes on the road. It was kind of weird, felt like Armageddon. And I got in here and I said, we got to do something. So I basically sat in front of the computer and put together a Facebook Live. And those that may have followed us on there, they saw that. And I literally just said, we're here to help out whatever we can do. We have the technology. And within 5 business days, we had almost 650 to 700 shares on the social media blast, which basically kickstarted off us building our PPE. It wasn't really anything that I planned. I didn't know how the hell we were going to do it. But like I said, I went into survival mode, and it was one of those things where just things fell into place. The next thing was trying to source materials, build prototypes to see if we get it approved. We ended up working with a couple people. I worked with a couple of my seamstresses and asked, hey, come on, will you guys be willing to come in, build some prototypes? They passed, and we started going into production. It was something that I've never been experienced with, doing, square peg, square hole, day in and day out. So, I started thinking, okay, we got to cut foam for our face shields. And, here I am, I'm buying sheets of foam, and I'm taking a turkey cutter and I'm cutting 1-inch strips. And I'm thinking, geez, this is taking forever. So, we had to start really kind of reinventing the wheel on how we fabricate things, because we do a lot of one-of-a-kind things. We're not doing mass production. So we reached out to our foam suppliers. They said, what size do you need? What density do you need for your face shields? They started cutting them. We were getting them at 2, 3, 4,000 at a time coming to our door, rather than me trying to cut maybe 50 to 100 of them a day and just figuring out this is never going to work. Even our elastic, we're trying to cut those to the right specs. We subbed all that out to have, pre-cut. So basically all we had to do was grab piles. We use our automated cutting table to cut all different types of barriers, masks, and our shields that we were doing. So it was definitely a new experience, but our custom shop basically turned into a production line. And it was something that our staff was willing to come back and do to help out. They didn't have to do it. They wanted to come back and help out. So it was definitely something that was very unique, I feel, in our industry. So I feel like the marketing part of what we did was I just basically went out there and just informed people. And what it did is it just gained traction. We had people here in our office that were just spreading the word. That was the biggest thing right there. We were helping local communities. A couple of days after we got approved for doing the work, we ended up getting a contract through the state of Michigan, where they were looking for a pretty large volume of units. And that's where we had to sit down as a team and really try to figure out who was good at what and go from there. So it helped. Our suppliers were awesome to work with. It was a daily call to almost every one of my suppliers I work with. What do you have in elastic? That was one of the toughest things in our industry to find, was elastic. That and hard, rigid vinyls and polycarbonates. Those were the difficult things in our industry to find. But, it was one of those things. It was basically, instead of making the coffee, it was making a phone call. Every day we were making phone calls, and it wasn't like, what do you have? Send what you have. We'll take it. And, we tried to make things work as best as we could. Big or small, our team was able to deliver. Whether or not we were supposed to be delivering 1 or 2 units to the general public as they came to our door, it literally felt like we were doing miniature drug deals. We didn't know what was going on, what this virus contained of or anything like that. We had a box. We put the box outside. People would either drop a check, money, whatever, and we would literally put it outside in a bag. We had cars just coming in and out of our drive. It looked like we were a drive-through. It was pretty surreal. What ended up happening. So, the areas of the people that we serviced, like I said, we worked with the state of Michigan, but on top of those, we worked with the local fire departments and police departments, medical offices, grocery stores, airports, hospitals, auto dealerships, you name it. If there was something that we could do to build a barrier or build face shields or masks or anything, you probably saw the one picture all the time that was up there. It was of my sister in a blue gown and a face shield. She was on the front line doing this stuff. She's a respiratory therapist, so she was seeing it day in and day out. And it was kind of one of those things where, their staff needed stuff. It wasn't a matter of how much or what you needed. Just tell me what you needed, and we were getting it out to them. So we were donating a lot of it as well, but we still had to charge a little bit to make something because the cost of, operating. We weren't set up in that type of situation just to donate everything. We had a lot of people. We did get some, flack from some people yelling at us, why are you charging people? But, we had to survive, and that's the biggest thing in business is we want to take care of our family, but most of all, this time when we kind of put everything together, is we really wanted to take care of our team. Our team is is my family, and they are what kind of makes everything kind of run here. So I want to say, I think from the start to finish, besides what we did, probably about 73,000 units of PPE. That included barriers, masks, face shields, anything custom. We even had some dentists that had to wear the binoculars when they're doing procedures. We made custom ones for them. Whatever we could do to try to help out during that time. It was, I think, a total of 7 or 8 weeks that our shop was completely shut down from doing any type of boat work, and we literally were just set up building PPE. So it was definitely an experience. We still get calls on stuff. We still supply certain venues with things that they need. Definitely not the demand that was there, but it was one of those things where we had to retool our business, and it was to try to have a plan. I'll tell you what, we did not have a plan. And I can tell you right now that we learned a lot from this experience, and we had to transition, because I don't know what the repercussions would have been if we didn't do this. But I can honestly say that everybody on our team stepped up and did a great job. So one thing that was really cool was that a lot of people through IFAI and different shops across the country, what was nice is if you had the right technology, they were willing to share different types of cut files. If you wanted to make gowns, if you wanted to build a facial mask or a facial shield, we were even shipping things to other shops too. So it was kind of a neat thing to experience that, everybody kind of came together during this moment. And just another reason why, I always try to push people to join the association. Nothing that, I don't get anything financially out of it, but what I do get out of it is the networking and the it's the experience of meeting all these people. And it sucks that we're not in New Orleans right now and we're behind a computer right now, but it's still good to see everyone's face. And, that's our story about just trying to be prepared with what we do. So that's it. If you got any questions, you can always reach out to me, rob@lakeshoreboattop.com, or you can reach me out on my cell if you need to ever get a hold of me at 586-260-0687. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Ron, you have it.
Thanks, Darren. Rob and Chandler, thank you very much. We thought that it would be a good idea to get a perspective of what happens when the fabricator faces a catastrophe or a pandemic, and then what happens to their supply chain in the same light. As Rob and Chandler both talked about, right? What has happened in 2020 is something that no longer took place in a very regional aspect. Hurricanes, tornadoes, violent storms, and weather emergencies happen very regionally, and usually manufacturing and supply chain can adjust and shift and move product in and around. This pandemic, every state in the union had some sort of mandate as it related to businesses, closures, mandatory, essential workers, who can and who cannot be open. And when you start to understand the impact of anywhere from 50% to 75% of your customers no longer being able to work due to mandates put down by governors in their states for a period of time, it certainly opens your eyes and you start to ask and question everything. And I think to Chandler's statement, it comes to people first, right? Are all of your people safe? Can you take care of your personnel? Do you have a plan in place that is making sure that your personnel are safe, they're secure, they feel good about what's happening and what's happening with the company? And then you get into some defense modes, right? What's happening now that demand for product at the manufacturing level and at the distribution level has changed dramatically. In April and May of 2020, the manufacturing segment servicing just the marine industry saw drops as much as 50% in demand for their products that they traditionally provide to the market space. As you can imagine, that's the peak of the season in the U.S. for marine manufacturing. And to see a 50% drop in your high season is nothing easy to swallow or come back from. So in talking to other manufacturers and distributors, we talked a lot about are we prepared? How did you prepare? How did you react? And I think for a lot of us, this was more to what Rob stated. It was a reaction. Fortunately, now that we've been through it, we get to plan for it in the future, as Chandler indicated, right? If you have a plan, you can look at your plan, you can initiate your plan, and you could say this is familiar. But like Rob and Chandler, all of this was unfamiliar across all of the enterprises. So as fabricators went through this, so did manufacturers and suppliers to the industry, right? We saw demands change. We tried to answer questions like, what do you have that can be used in PPE production, right? What can you provide to us that we can use to manufacture, as Rob indicated, whether it was face masks or shields or gowns or barriers and what have you. And it was a complete reevaluation of all the product lines that are available in the market space. And then it is, how do we pivot and transpose the use of those products? And then more importantly, communicate it to our customers, some who were answering their phones and some who were not answering their phones, and getting a hold of them and ways that we could communicate, whether it was through website or social media or through, hopefully we had cell phone communication, or, they were checking their emails every once in a while. So there was that complete overhaul of what these businesses represented during this crisis, right? I like to think of it as an evaluation of asset allocation, right? What do we do with the assets that we have, personnel and product? And how do we make sure that, we, like you guys as fabricators, distributors and manufacturers, how do we survive through this so that we can serve you coming out of this? Well, as things started to loosen up and open up, what you saw in quarters 3 and 4 in 2020 were demand peaks that were unprecedented, and they remain unprecedented to this point. We saw demand come back from both manufacturers that I spoke with and distributors that are at levels higher than when they were going into the pandemic. People are busier than they've ever been. The backup and backlog and demand for their work, your work as custom marine fabricators, is higher today than it's ever been. We are seeing boat sales that are reaching all-time levels in terms of both dollars and units. The projection for 2021 is that new boat sales will reach a 13-year high, and growth is anticipated to be 10 to 15% year over year in new boat sales. Well, what we discovered early on was that the boating industry, those who owned boats or had boats or access to boats, had the opportunity to enjoy some sort of leisure and release from the pandemic and socially distance at the same time, self-isolate with their family and loved ones. That's what's driving a lot of this. The inability of the consumer to be able to or have access to travel like they once did, and the freedom to get on planes and travel around the world and take vacations, spend time in hotels and at resorts and what have you, has been very limited. And this is forcing them back into their homes. This is forcing them back into their leisure products that they own already, or buying and investing in those leisure products. And so it has created an incredible demand. Well, magnify that worldwide, and all of a sudden you have supply, right? So there's limited resources around the world for the products that are used within this industry. And the supply for those products also was affected due to mandates in countries and or states where manufacturing was taking place, and manufacturing slowed, or it has been delayed, or they've run into delay issues throughout the pandemic, trying to build inventory again. But with demand being high and with capacity being reached very quickly, the investment into new capacity and expanded capacity is really simple economics, right? We've got high demand, we've got flat supply, right? There's not a whole bunch of new supply available to the market space. And with this high demand, there are going to be pricing pressures in this market space. You know, as custom fabricators, this is an opportunity to review, analyze, and make sure. I think that Chandler hit on it perfectly. His catastrophic event quoting policy probably has a lot to do with the success of their business long term. Not only does he evaluate and charge for those quotes, but it probably led to their business reevaluating how they quote all of their custom work going forward. And that opportunity exists for every one of the fabricators today, is to look at and to understand that, you know, we all struggle with one thing, right? If you talk to 99 or 100 people, 99 of them are going to tell you, boy, I wish I had more help. And how do we get more help, right? And one of the ways to get more help is to think about, how do we add more value to the positions that we can offer people, right? How can we pay them a higher wage that's more of a living wage for those folks, that becomes a career opportunity for them? And the only way, and I talk about this with all of my customers as well, but in talking to manufacturers and other distributors, they're like, man, if they could get more for their custom work, right? Think about how you price the products that you sell today, and how it affords you the opportunity not only to get equipment, automation, new buildings, and what have you, but also personnel, and how you can take that investment and turn that into really long-term success with personnel, and by building, you know, a market of expertise. You know, there should be an opportunity over the next couple of years with some of the changes in the socio-political structure in the United States, to look at opportunities to employ more personnel. I love the idea. I heard one area where you can get personnel who have talent and are willing to work is from the stage and screen industry. Stagehands, those who are either working as curtain manufacturers or sewers, or stage installers in the display industry. They've got a lot of talent. Many of them are not afraid to be behind a sewing machine and know their way around, and are skilled, smart, and ready to work. And that's an industry, as we all know, that has been suffering dramatically. I read something this morning that really kind of opened my eyes as well. You know, the ability to move product between ports and between cities and destinations is getting more and more expensive in the United States. I will tell you, the cost of moving all these things is rising, and it's rising very quickly. We saw a report in Washington Post just the other day in which container shipments are rising at an average rate of cost at about 80% above last year. So the cost of moving these goods is rising dramatically. And this is something else that, as 2021 unfolds, I think that the demand is going to remain, from what I'm seeing and hearing. There's work out there, there's lots of demand, so that will remain, but the costs are going to continue to go up. And you guys need to think about that as a fabricator network of evaluating your business today. Is your pricing structure ready to meet what some of the new world costs are going to take in? So really, for 2022, you know, and 2021 through 2022, what we see as a supplier manufacturing network is new boat sales are probably going to rise through 21, with easing starting in 2022. There will be rising fuel costs, and the return of other leisure activities is going to affect some of the opportunities that you will have long term. So this is a time, as the sun shines, to make hay, as they say, right? Make hay while the sun shines. This is a great opportunity because your demand may never be this high again. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Ron, Rob, and Chandler. At this time, we have a few minutes left for some that people have sent forward. I'll read off the first question. This is from Keith Purvis. This question goes to Chandler. Do you offer canvas removal for your customers prior to storms?
So we do typically, it's existing customers, and it's only if we have time. The first few storms, we were not prepared. We needed every minute to prepare for the storm. We've gotten better at that. It also depends on if people are evacuating. If our employees are running out of the area, no, we've got to take care of ourselves first. But we do it sometimes. We'll do it sometimes for existing customers.
Okay. Okay. The next question was also by Keith. And this, I believe, goes to Rob. Have you been able to incorporate things that you've learned from your production work into your custom marine work?
Well, I guess the biggest thing is just being a little bit more prepared with maybe having materials and stuff on hand. There's nothing worse than being in the middle of pulling a pattern on a job and not having the right stuff, not having the right material in stock. The other thing too is just, when you're doing one of a kind work, and even if you hire new people, it takes a while for them to actually get, up to speed and doing things. When we were doing the production work, it was very minimal, I guess, managing for us, because everybody had a job, they had a purpose. So what it really did for me also is it helped me maybe see some areas maybe that I was failing as a leader with my people, and maybe they were going in too many different directions and not being able to focus on some of their stronger parts. So we really sat down and we tried to give everybody their own purpose. So they knew, if they left off on a job that day, that the next day that they could get back on the same thing. And what we found is it really helped us as a group be a little bit more efficient and keep the jobs moving. And I feel like we were pushing more work out the door, and everybody's morale at the shop seemed to be picked up a little bit. And I think it worked out really well. So, I mean, if those two things, I would honestly say, are probably two big things that we took away from it. But, we still run things as a production setup here, but we still deliver a custom product to our people.
Okay, thank you. This next question comes from Sandy. How much do you charge for quotes, if you do charge? And then she just made a comment that they started quoting after Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And maybe this is for Chandler, more for Chandler.
Well, I don't
Rob,
know. I don't know what everybody else does, but I think insurance companies, depends on the insurance company. I think they allow up to $150. I actually placed some calls today and didn't get an answer back. But we charge $100. I think it's fair. It really should be able to, when we're quoting, when you go to a marina, there's going to be typically several. We have things located by area, so I can go gather the information that I need in one area, several boats. So really, at the end of, and an insurance quote is more extensive, obviously, than typically an insurance company wants things broken down by time and materials. So a little more extensive, but I figure an hour. So whatever your shop rate is, ours happens to be $100. So so that we charge 1 hour's worth of labor.
Okay, I guess that answers the next question, Chandler. Do you think? Do you have your set prices for your quotes, or are you charging based on how long it takes?
No, I charge a set price. It kind of comes out in the wash. So you have quotes you can quickly do, and quotes that take a little bit longer. But generally speaking, it's a challenge that throughout the industry, I think everybody's aware that we should be better at quoting, all of us. If anybody's mastered it, please let us know how you're doing it. But we've got preset things where we can quote fairly quickly nowadays, but we're not where we want to be yet. But it comes out in the wash.
Okay. Comes from Jim Robert, and maybe this applies to all three, some from a fabricator standpoint and also Ron as a supplier. Jim says, I'm a small shop. Prior to my COVID, my on-site, not prior to my COVID, prior to COVID, my on-site supplies weren't large and back orders held us up and worried me. I'm now beginning to store more on-site, but don't know how much is worry versus warranted. Any takes on that?
I'm happy to take it from a supply side of the business. I think that I encourage customers that if you know you have the work coming, buying it in advance, ordering in advance at least, under the current economic conditions is smart. Order early to ensure that you can meet the deadlines that you've laid out with your customers. It's much easier to make a change for a customer early in the process because a product is unavailable or won't be available by the expected due date than it is to make that change 2 or 3 days before the project was originally quoted to be completed.
Okay. That's interesting. That's great. Oh, well, one more question here. I think we have time for Amy's question. This would be the last one. I'm curious how many fellow fabricators switched to PPE? We did not while I'm here. Okay. All right. That's great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Rob, Chandler, and Ron, your time. Next up, we have John Trevano from the Miami Corporation. John, I'm going to hand it over to John momentarily. For those of you who don't know John, he's well liked and has been around and been a great supporter. We will now bring John up.
Everybody hear me? Well, I'm assuming everybody can hear me, so I'll just go on. Hi, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Darren. And thank you to the MFA and IFAI for putting this event together and offering a platform for us to interact with our industry's extremely talented fabricators. Excuse me. We all wish we could have met in person. Nonetheless, I am grateful for the opportunity to speak to you all now virtually. I apologize in advance for my overactive hands or distraction, but I just can't help myself. But I talk about things I'm passionate about. As we look forward to what 2021 has in store for us, it is important we take the time to look back at the past year and remind us how far we have come, just how special and versatile our industry is. The Miami Corporation is very proud of the partnerships we have with all you fabricators. We will continue to invest in you by supporting you in any way we can, each step of the way. Major global pandemic aside, 2020 was an incredible year for the Miami Corporation. Through a combination of acquisitions and strategic partnerships, we were able to expand our reach and realize incredible growth throughout the marine, shade, automotive, and contract markets. We pride ourselves on offering only the highest quality products. As an employee-owned company, every member of our Miami Corp family is passionate about what they do. Speaking of the highest quality products, we believe there is no better solution-dyed acrylic fabric available in the market today than our very own Templeton fabrics. Style and beauty being the two hallmarks of Italian culture, consider our fabrics the perfectly fitting Armani suits of the marine industry. With our unique and vibrant fabrics protected by our patented Teflon Extreme Finish, you know your fabrics will stay looking good. But beauty and workability can only take you so far. The reality is the best ability is availability. And our industry-leading stocking levels are and will continue to be readily available for you when you need it. Most of you were able to see firsthand and take full advantage of our incredible stocking positions last year. And we are looking forward to becoming your primary fabric supplier again this upcoming season. When you make that one call, rest assured, you won't have to make another call to try to find the fabric you're looking for. Even though most of you think Tempo Test when you see me, along with witty, charming, and incredibly handsome, in reality, that's just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. Solar Fix, Top Gun, Weathermax, OC, Stratiglass, YKK, Scoville Fasteners, Compass Flooring, Fast Mount, Carvey Poles, Ultra Leather, Spradling, Moorburn, and Ship to Shore, just to name a few of the thousands of products we offer here at Miami Corporation. One of our newest product offerings is our pattern plastic. This dimensionally stable and opaque material is readily available and affordably priced. The material even received the stamp of approval from Autometrics for use on their cutting tables because their proprietary camera system can actually pull the pattern automatically without having to digitally trace it for quick and precise cutting. That's my time today, guys. I want to thank you for your time and your attention. We wish you all a very healthy and happy 2021 season. We look forward to you stopping by our booth to chat. And when you do, please make sure to ask me about the challenge. Full stop. That's my time.
That's great. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Darren.
At this time, we're going to take a quick break. We'll give everybody a chance to navigate around and chat a little bit and do some networking. We are going to convene on stage at 4:20. Kyle Van Dam is going to hop up and do the awards presentation.